vertical schematic. All right, so this is a test, and I have no idea what this looks like because the screen is up above. But here is the hex map showing the location of the Megadungeon. And here we have an isometric map showing the interior of the Temple of the Elements, or perhaps the Shrine of Sanctuary, the Sanctuary of Healing, something like that. I haven't figured out a name for it yet. And then here we have the key for the interior of the shrine, as well as some ruins that exist around the sides, and then a burial mound over to the northwest. Each of the areas is briefly keyed. There is a monitoring monster table, and then there's a little discussion about the statues themselves that exist on the temple right there. And then here we have a key that shows what monsters and what level there is a layer. So for instance, here we have entrance number 5 goes to level number 7, and there's a 3rd level monster, the giant weasels. So because it's 3rd level creatures on the 7th level, will double the number that are expected, so on and so forth. So there's that. This is the format that each level will follow. And this is, or was, going to be level 1. This is a complete Appendix A dungeon, rolled randomly. And I don't know, I can't say that I'm really that satisfied with it. I mean, it's kind of interesting, and I did force it a little bit to get additional loops, trying to create loops within loops. But yeah, I think it's kind of uninteresting. And I have to tell you that this further reinforces my own belief that running a session through Appendix A or via Appendix A will not generate an interesting dungeon and will likely not be a very interesting time. I did populate these rooms rolling my content dice, and there's an awful lot of empty space in here, and I'm not sure that it really works, because level 1 is supposed to be home to goblins, and so that's the goblin lair. And so it occurs to me that perhaps rather than generating a dungeon day by day through Appendix A and then attempting to populate the rooms or generate the room contents again randomly, that perhaps we should go ahead and go at it from a different angle. And so what I did was I have drawn a vertical schematic of the dungeon showing the various entries on the surface and what levels they lead down to, and then how these levels are connected and interconnected via tunnels and what have you. So for example, here on level 4, there's a group of rooms here and a cluster of rooms here. Level 5 is one cluster of rooms. Level 6 is one cluster of rooms. Level 7 has 2 clusters of rooms separated by a long tunnel. And level 8 has 2 clusters of rooms. And you can see level 8, for instance, is connected to the surface at entrance number 4 and at entrance number 12. And because we have the surface map, entrance number 4 is here, and entrance 12 is here, so we know that the horizontal distance between them is this many. Each of these hexes is 250 feet. So we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 times 250 feet, which is what? 3,750 feet. So that's a pretty substantial distance, a good portion of a mile, which is what we have flat to flat here. So I have a feeling that generating it this way and then going back to our list of layers, let's move it over this way just a little bit. Our list of layers here shows us a list of factions. So for instance, on level 8 there is a salamander. On level 4 there is a wraith. Level 1 we have the goblins. Level 11 there's an 18-headed hydra. So I don't know if that, because that's a monster, I don't know that they're intelligent or that they'd have a faction, but perhaps there are other monsters that may worship that creature and try to keep it happy on level 11. And level 11 consists of these two groups of rooms, so perhaps the hydra lair is a large cavern, and then we have the other creatures that support it here. On level 7, we have a cleric, and on level 8, we have a Medusa. So the cleric has 2 clusters of rooms, the Medusa has 2 clusters of rooms. So that gives us what? 5 salamander, wraith, goblin, hydra, cleric, and Medusa. So we have 6 factions dwelling in this 12-level dungeon. And so I think what we'll do is we'll develop the factions in a kind of just a framework, just a basic way. We're not going to generate a ton of lore, but we will roll up some random things for them. And that will give us a starting point for these 6 areas that are inhabited by factions. And once we have that, we'll go ahead and make reaction rolls for each faction to see how they feel about each other. And then we can go ahead and start populating the dungeon and creating our random encounter rolls and that sort of thing. And then we can also decide, are some of these caverns? I think definitely the hydra lair should be a cavern level as opposed to, regular square rooms and what have you. The Medusa is really interesting. That again, all of these layers were generated randomly. You can see the procedure in the blog post that I wrote a couple years ago. But I used that procedure to generate these layers. And the Medusa and the cleric, I think those two are the most exciting. And I do have a germ of an idea that the cleric is there to perhaps learn some magic from the Medusa. And I've always thought that a Medusa should not really be just a regular monster. The Medusa should be a unique creature. Maybe a demigod. I mean, mythologically speaking, the Medusa is a one of a kind and should have amazing powers. It should not be something that can be easily overcome. Certainly not by just regular adventurers. So there we are. This is our first 2 weeks into the Dungeon24 project. For those of you still here, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. I am going to do my best to keep pumping out these videos on Sundays in order to keep you all apprised of the progress that we're making. So look for a video next Sunday regarding the goblins and their faction information, and maybe a brief sketch on how their level will be laid out. It is the first level underneath this temple, so I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do a little bit of research on catacombs and things like that, and perhaps maybe we'll have some sort of catacomb area that the goblins have taken over. So thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep on gaming.